Hi, and welcome to another video on object-oriented programming in C#, with me, Marinus Toman. Okay, so in this video we're going to look at creating a library with Visual Studio. So once we start Visual Studio 2002, we will go with to create a new project. So in the Create New Project window, enter solution in the search box and choose a blank solution template. Okay, so blank solution, click next, and we want to give it the solution a name. In this case we call it Class Library Projects. With no spaces, and we can see here where it's going to save this, so the solution will be created in this new directory. Okay, and then we just click create, and once Visual Studio is finished loading, you'll see it has created this solution here for us. So currently the solution has 0 projects in it, but we'll change that now shortly. Okay, so the first thing to do is to create our class library. So this is really the new part of today. So we can right click on the solution in the Solution Explorer, and then go to Add and then New Project. So when we're looking at the different types of projects that we can start, we can just search for library, and that'll take up class library. So as long as we make sure that it's compatible with C#, that's the one that we're looking for. Okay, so we click that and hit next. So this library, we're going to call it string library. It's going to use the string class, and you can see that it's in our class library projects directory. So it's going to create a new directory called string library under the class library projects. Okay, click next. So we'll just make sure that it's .NET 7, that's okay. Okay, so the next thing is to check to make sure that the library targets the correct version of .NET. So of course, you know, we've seen that it did there, but this is just in case you're using maybe, you know, a project that isn't yours. So if you just want to maybe check what the dependencies are. Okay, so go to properties, and we can look at the target framework. So as we say, it was .NET 7.0, so that's what we want. So this is where you can check, you know, the different settings for your projects. Okay, so we'll go back to there's a bit of information here on Visual Basic, but that doesn't apply to us. Okay, so they want us now to replace everything in this class file here, class1.cs, with following code, and then save the file. Okay, so once we copy that and paste it in, so explaining what this does here. So we're using a namespace, we're creating this namespace utility libraries. So this basically our package in terminology of Java. So the class library utility libraries.string library, and we can access it like this because it's a static class string library. This contains a method starts with upper. Okay, and it looks at this string, so it's looking at this object, and it returns a boolean that indicates whether the current string instance begins with an uppercase character. So this char dot is upper, that returns true if a character is uppercase. So this should return true if this character that we've retrieved from this string is uppercase. And remember, a string is just a string of characters. That's where it gets its name. So it's actually just an array of characters. So once we can look at this string and just get the very first character, which is of course array index 0. Okay. So this is an extension method so that you can call it as if you were a member of the string class. Okay, and this question mark here after the string indicates that this string may be null, but that's okay because we're checking it here, and if it is null, we're just returning false because it can't have an uppercase letter if it's an empty or null string. Okay, so on the menu bar we can select build and build solution, or we can right click the solution file and click build solution this way, and we can see down here build succeeded and no issues found, which is what we want to see. So the project has compiled without any errors, so everything looks good. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, this is a small example of our library. It's just a class with one method that checks if a string starts with an uppercase letter. Okay, so very simple library. So now what we want to do is add a console application that uses this class. So the app will prompt the user to enter a string and report whether the string begins with an uppercase character or not. So first thing we want to do is add a .NET application named Showcase to the solution. So we can do this again by right clicking the solution file, go to add, new project, but this time we want a console app, so just a basic console app. Hit next. We're calling this one Showcase, and again you can see that it's going to create this new directory under the class library projects called Showcase. We do not want to use top level statements, and we want to make sure this .NET 7, and then of course you can check that again after if needs be. Hit create. Okay, so it has now created this new project for us here called Showcase, and it has created a C# file, program.cs, and it has opened this file for us here as well. So you can see it's automatically give us our namespace, the same as the project, and then this is just an internal class with the main method, and it's just the normal hello world that we're familiar with. Okay, so we are asked to replace all of this, what's in this file, with this code. So just grab a copy of that and paste it in here. Okay, so immediately you'll see that there's, a few errors will come up. It's not recognizing some things. But anyway, we'll ignore that for now. So the code uses the row variable, initializes it to 0, and it uses this to maintain a count of the number of rows of data written to the console window. So for every time there's something writ, it's the row is equal 3 for the very first time, and then after that there's 4 lines, so it's just incrementing row by 4 because there's 4 lines each time. So whenever it's greater than or equal to 25, the code clears the console window and displays a message to the user. So that's this reset console basically just calls this method. Okay, so if the very first time when row is equal to 0, this will run, or when it's greater than or equal to 25. Okay, so pretty simple. And really what we're doing here is it's taken in, so it's printing out, press enter to exit, otherwise enter a string and press enter. And then we're taking input from the user. We're checking is it null or empty. If it is, we're just breaking straight out, because if they press enter we want to just exit. Otherwise we print out what the input is, and whether it begins with an uppercase letter or not, and that's us trying the method that we created in our string library. Okay, this starts with upper. So we've used the namespace utility libraries, and then we've said in the program that we're using this new namespace, so we're using this library or any classes that are implemented in this namespace. We want to just use them by default. Okay, so the problem here is, so the tutorial will take us through. So in the Solution Explorer we need to, initially the new console app project doesn't have access to this class library. So the showcase project doesn't actually have access to the string library. So to allow it to call methods in the class library, we create a project reference to the class library project. So in this Solution Explorer, right click the showcase projects dependencies node, so that's this one, and then we can select add project reference. This should come up here, something similar to this dialog box, and we just click the checkbox for string library. Click OK, and now you can see that it recognizes now that we're using the namespace that we've defined over here, and it also recognizes this starts with upper, that it is a valid method now. Okay, so we'll just save that, and now we can run the app. Can run it. Basically, before we do run it, what we can do is we can make the showcase the starter app, so whenever we hit run we know, or the IDE knows where to start running from. Okay, so we can right click showcase and then go down set as startup project. So anytime now that we hit run, it's going to be run the showcase project by default. So we can run it without debugging, and then we'll try and enter some test data like hello with uppercase and then hello with lowercase. Okay, so uppercase hello begins with uppercase, yes. We'll try lowercase and no, and then we'll just try enter, which should, yep, just ends the program. Okay, and that's it for creating a library. So that was just a small library and just showed you the basics of creating the library itself with the class or potential class structure, and then just a little console tester app that you could interact with your library through. So the main concepts are just being able to connect the projects together, and really just showing that we have the class library template and the console app template from Visual Studio and Microsoft themselves. Okay, so that's it for this video. Thank you. Okay, so that's everything for the video. Thanks for watching.